Hi, my name is Scott Elser. I'm a professional EOS implementer, and on beyond that, I've run several companies where I've had, the unfortunate opportunity to lead companies through some very traumatic events. A couple of examples: I ran a large team through 9/11 that was based in Manhattan, so we had to deal with tremendous disruption then. And I had my own agency in Manhattan during Hurricane Sandy, when Manhattan wound up being closed on essentially no real advance warning for almost 3 weeks. And we had to quickly adapt from being an in-office agency to being a virtual agency without missing any client deadlines. So from those experiences, I gained some interesting insights around what needs to happen from a leadership perspective to be able to successfully survive and thrive through those kinds of experiences. And there's really 5 things that I wanted to share with you today. The first is to really create a sense of purpose for the team. So you have a vision, you probably have a long-term vision for the company, and I'm talking about something different than that. The sense of purpose is really incredibly short-term. It's about really looking out at the next 30, 60, 90 days and creating a sense of purpose for the company in terms of what survival looks like and how you're going to get there. Let's face it, most of your people, right now, they can't look past the next couple of weeks. And your goal is to get them focused on the belief that you have a path to get successfully through this together, and that they understand how that's going to happen. The second is really having a clarity of focus. And that comes down to, for each individual in your company, they probably they're working from home, situation is different, the company is needing to really solve some issues that it just didn't have a couple of weeks ago. And it's important that they each feel a real clarity around their own personal focus, what they should be doing, what they should be obsessing about every day, and how they need to take that, and it builds toward the greater good of the company. So defining that clarity of focus for everybody is really important. The third is around the commitment to accountability. And that's based on that focus, really making sure that everybody understands a couple of things they're trying to move, a couple of metrics, a couple of activities. And it's really not about focusing on results, but it's really about focusing on the activity model and the actions you need everybody to take. Let's face it, all of your folks are distracted, they're at home, they're focused on, they've got the news on in the background, they've got kids, they've got dogs, they've got all of these different distractions they didn't have before. And they've got to really focus and spend their time effectively driving toward the business outcomes you're looking for. So giving them a real sense of things that they're accountable for and putting in place the ability to keep them accountable and make sure that they know that is going to keep them focused on the goals that you need them focused on, and help them drown out and prioritize what those things are against all of that noise that's around them right now and the personal fears and everything else they have going on. The fourth is a connection to community. What makes your company special is that culture, the core values, it's the people, it's the camaraderie. That's what makes a one for all and all for one really work within a company. You got to make sure that that stays intact, even as people now are working remote and not working together. So you've got to really, you're the chief communications officer for your company at this point. You've got to make sure that communication's happening frequently. You've got to make sure that you schedule more times together, more meetings. And one of the things I really recommend is schedule a 30-minute huddle at the beginning of the day, that every day, that gets the whole company together, gives you the opportunity to just make sure people understand anything that's developed. If there's not much, that's fine too, but just make sure people feel like they're getting updated on a daily basis, and give people the opportunity to ask questions, or quite frankly, just have a little fun together if that's what is you're able to do, because all of that is really important to keeping that connection and that community in place that you've built. Finally, feeling of trust. And this is really important. Your people are looking to be led, they're looking to follow you. But part of that is the feeling that you're actually sharing with them what you know and what you don't know. Let's face it, they don't expect you to have all of the answers. Nobody does. But they do expect you to be really transparent with them on the good and the not so good of what's happening. And they need to feel like you're telling them just about everything you can about where the business is and what's happening. So it's really important that you communicate that. There's in Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, they talk about the Stockdale paradox. And that's really comes down to 2 things. It's about getting through difficult times based on a never-ending belief that You will get through it, but also being able to confront the brutal facts about where you are. And if you can do both of those things and people feel like you're being transparent, you'll get through it. If you don't do that, if you don't tell people what's going on, if people don't feel like they can trust you, or you're just silent, people will create their own narrative. And the only guarantee I'll make you is the narrative they create will be 10 times worse than anything you could tell them that's the truth. So communicate a lot, communicate more, and build that trust. So just want to recap that real quick. Those 5 things are: create a real sense of purpose that's short-term focused and makes people believe there's a plan to get through it. Create the clarity of focus to make sure that everybody knows what their role is as they move forward and why they're important to achieving that purpose. Create a commitment to accountability with some specific metrics, measurements, activities that people are accountable to and are going to be held accountable to, and make sure you build a process around it. A connection to community that ensures that that culture that you built and the connections with people and that sense of common purpose still exists and still is healthy and still is there. And create that feeling of trust so that people feel like you're being transparent up front with them and they understand what's going on and that they're connected to you and that you're accountable to them. So that's the 5 things I want to share with you today. If you want to chat, if you want to go through anything, if you want to just ask my advice, I'm happy to share it with you. My email is Scott, SCOTT, @thetractionhub.com. My website is thetractionhub.com. Please feel free to reach out. If I can provide any guidance, if I can provide any assistance or just share some thoughts, I'd be happy to do that. I wish you well, and I will be posting more in the next couple days. Thank you.